Recently, I finally found a machine that I've been looking for several years. Super Mario Bros. Pinball.
My name's Mario. We have a good time, huh? I gotta
get it. Manufactured by Gottlieb and released in the April of 1992, this pinball version of Mario was pretty unique for its time. I have fond memories of first discovering this game in a Chuck E. Cheese entertainment center. It was the first time I had ever heard Mario as a fully voiced video game character. Many people wouldn't experience this until Super Mario 64 was released on the Nintendo 64 some 4 years later. The music, sound, artwork, and stunning light show brought Mario's world to life in a way I had never saw it before, and it made a big impression on me. So much so that many years later, once I had gotten further into the arcade hobby, I knew I would one day have to own my own table. I was lucky enough to find one for sale last year, and I jumped at the opportunity. While many seasoned pinball players will dismiss the table as too easy, I'm still having a ton of fun with it. In this video, I just wanted to share some of the modifications I've made to my table. I'll include links in the descriptions to all of the mods I installed, just in case there's a certain one that you'd like to check out for yourself. To get started, I first wanted to mention some of the pre-existing mods that were installed on the cabinet when I received it. The legs, lockdown bar, and wireform rails have all been painted red, which fits the theme pretty well. Unfortunately, they were painted and not powder coated, which means that there are several areas that are now chipping. Still, it looks pretty nice and I can always powder coat these in the future. The playfield has some severe wear in many high traffic areas, which is not unusual for a game of this vintage. Protective mylar has been installed to help prevent any further damage. In many of those areas, the previous owner placed Mario-themed stickers. For the most part, these match the artwork pretty well and help cover up some of the damaged areas. As for toys, there were several Mario action figures placed throughout the playfield. These were all the Jack's 2.5-inch figurines. A few of them needed to be moved to get a better view of some of the table's targets and lights, but otherwise they fit the artwork style pretty well. For a topper, an acrylic light by Palindone featuring Mario was used. It's a more modern render of Mario, which doesn't quite fit the 90s art theme, so I may switch it at some point, but for now I'm going to keep it installed. The original orange monochrome dot matrix display was swapped for a more modern color display, the Pin 2 DMD. The default configuration included some basic colorizations and a few custom scenes. I'll talk more about the newer customizations later in the video. And finally, perhaps the most impressive existing mod is the signed Translite. It's signed by Mario's voice actor, the legendary Charles Martinet. While he first voiced Mario at interactive exhibits at trade shows, this is the first Mario game that he voiced. I distinctly remember the sound of Mario's voice when I saw this game as a kid. It was the first time I had heard Mario speak. Okay, before I get into the new mods, here are some of the quick fixes that I made. While the stickers matched the 90s art style of the game and did provide some hiding of the wear on the playfield, I felt that it was going to feel too busy with all the other mods I had planned to install, so I decided to remove them. Luckily, they all came off pretty easily without having to use any adhesive remover. While trying to activate multiball, I noticed that the right orbit would never activate when shot. Upon investigation, I found a rather odd wiring bypass on the orbit switch, perhaps from a previous repair. I cleaned up the wiring and installed a brand new switch which resolved the issue. Further playtesting exposed another issue. The left flipper was very weak and it eventually stopped working. It was pretty obvious here that the soldering was subpar and the wire had simply become disconnected due to the shock of the flipper coil firing. It was easy enough to clean up the wiring and resolder the connections. The topper is powered by a micro USB cable, which needed to be plugged into a separate outlet. I wanted the topper to be powered by the cabinet itself, so I ran a long USB cable down through the machine and plugged it in the internal service outlet. Now the topper turns on and off with the machine itself. And now it's time for the main event. These are all of the new mods that I installed. First up are the speaker grills. These are 3D printed star inserts that pop right into the speaker grills to add a bit of a flair to the backbox DMD area. These are also available in an 8-bit pixelated style, but I went with the ones with rounded corners as I feel it fits the art style better. It's never fun to play on a dim playfield, so I added some additional accent lighting using LED strips. I added a couple of LED strips to the left and right ramps, which help illuminate the upper playfield. I also added a blue strip to the ball trough, which gives the outlanes a blue hue, just like the underground levels from the games. These little 3D printed mushrooms look awesome. They're replacements for the acorn nuts that hold in various plastics. They look great scattered about the playfield. Since I've installed mine, 2 new designs have become available, bomb-oms and castles. I might switch some of these out later to add some more variety. The machine didn't ship from the factory with any protection for the holes, and whenever you see a Mario pin on location, you often see severe wear on them. I went with this 3D printed 5-piece hole protector set. These are nice because the colors match the surrounding artwork of the playfield and are easy to snap in. They came with some double-sided adhesive tape to help hold them in place. They definitely make the playfield look a lot cleaner. It remains to be seen how long they're going to hold up due to the wear and tear from the ball hitting them, but it's worth a shot for now. The pop bumper lights needed a bit of help. One of them was burnt out, and another was a mismatched orange color. I decided to swap the LED bulbs out for LED discs. These discs have multiple surface mount LEDs, which helps spread out the light over a larger area, and really helps brighten up the entire top of the bumper cap. While working on these, I also decided to add another 3D printed piece, a piranha plant. This mod was specifically designed for the pop bumper and has 2 screw holes that match up to the bumper cap, making for an easy installation. There were a few action figures already installed by the previous owner. I moved them around a bit and I added a few. These are all the 2.5-inch Jax action figures, which I feel were a good match for the character art. Most of these are held in place with mounting putty. Right now, Bowser is kind of hidden, lurking in the back, and I'd like to move him out closer to his castle. But in order to do so, I'll need some kind of custom 3D printed platform to allow him to stand over the right ramp and still allow the ball to pass through. I'll have to save this for later though, once I invest in a 3D printer of my own. This machine features 4 super bright flashers, which at times can be overly blinding, especially when you become Super Mario or get a superstar. I found these awesome question blocks to cover 2 of them. For the other 2, I went with these pipe caps. These help dampen the strobe effect so you aren't stuck seeing spots, but allow enough of the light to pass through to make things exciting. The stock game includes a single yellow pipe on the left return ramp. I feel like green pipes are more iconic, so I found a couple of 3D printed green ones and replaced the top and added a lower one. This is probably my favorite mod, an upgraded Bowser's Castle. The stock castle is simply a blue piece of plastic with a brick pattern and a sticker on top, which, by the way, it doesn't match the Mario 3 style Bowser on the playfield, or the lizard style Bowser from the animated TV show on the Translite. What's up with that? Anyways, it looks fine enough, but it's really no match at all for this awesome 3D printed castle, complete with flag. Before installing, I decided to swap out the castle's white flasher bulbs for red ones. I think the red color is a much better fit, as it reminds me of the lava pits you have to jump over in each castle. Once it's lit and spinning, there is just no comparison. The upgraded castle looks so much better. These so-called game blades, or art blades, add some flair to the left and right inner sides of the cabinet. They're essentially just large vinyl stickers that apply to each side. The artwork matches up very nicely with the stock playfield art, and they really make the game feel complete. I'm a sucker for LED lighting, so I decided to add illuminated buttons for the flippers and start button. I like these kits from Comet Pinball as they tap into general illumination power with a pass-through cable, which means you don't have to hack up a harness or run dedicated cables. Another 3D printed mod, this button replaces the existing launch ball button. It slots into the existing button housing so it looks stock. The M logo feels right at home here. The launcher pipe. This mod is so cool, I can't believe it wasn't part of the original table. The ball absolutely should launch out of a warp pipe. I took this one a little further and added an LED strip under the pipe that is synced up to the launch ball button light. This means that the pipe itself flashes when a ball is loaded and ready to be shot. This is another mod that just makes too much sense, and it's hard to believe it wasn't present on the stock table. These are clip-on covers for the targets that are the iconic question blocks. You're frequently bashing into these just like Mario does in the video game. Another very simple mod that adds quite a bit, 3D printed coin return buttons. Since these are a bit thicker and more opaque than the stock buttons, I also added some brighter LEDs. I mentioned earlier that the previous owner had installed a Pin2DMD. However, it had a pretty old colorization file. I found a thread on the Pinside forums where an updated colorization was being built by the community. This updated colorization is pretty awesome. In fact, calling it a colorization is doing it a disservice. It's actually a complete re-implementation of mini scenes using 16-bit sprites and tiles from Super Mario World. It has custom seeds for all the modes and unique animation for each of the 7 castles. It looks amazing. However, one downside worth noting is that progress on this has stalled around 90%, and there's still several glitches and things that don't work properly, like the slot machine reel animations. So if that's a deal breaker for you, you might want to check out the Color DMD instead, which has an official colorization that is feature complete. Though it's just a colorization of the original graphics and not a re-implementation like this community Pin2DMD version. Alright, so that's all I've got for this one. Thanks for sticking around. If you're interested in any of the mods, check out the video description where I've included links to all of the featured mods that were shown in the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.